Director Kogonada and his films have always been fascinated by the power of memories. 2017's Columbus centered around the history of various gorgeous pieces of architecture and the memories they evoke from its two leads. In 2021's After Yang, Kogonada focused on a broken android and the memories it created that made it as close to human as possible. Kogonada wrote and directed these films with a quiet beauty as characters pondered their past, the importance of what they remember in their present, and in doing so, created two gorgeous films. His third and latest film, A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey, both sounds right in line with Kogonada's filmography so far, yet also unlike anything he's ever made. For one, A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey is the first film Kogonada hasn't written, instead working with a screenplay by the Menu's Seth Rice. Even though Kogonada has directed episodes of The Acolyte and Pachinko, which he didn't write, it does feel different for him to do so in a feature. But most importantly, A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey is a grand romantic fantasy, starring two of our biggest actors in a film that is quirky, whimsical, and broader than anything Kogonada has done before. For someone who has only made reserved contemplative films, A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey is a big swing for Kogonada, one that occasionally works, but isn't entirely as successful as one would hope.
Colin Farrell and Margot Robbie fall in love in A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey.
David is on his way to a wedding by himself. In fact, David is usually by himself, and he's gotten used to it over the years. As he goes to leave, he discovers a boot has been put on his car, but thankfully there's a well-placed ad next to his parking spot for the car rental agency. He goes to the office, a giant warehouse, and finds two employees who offer him a 1994 Saturn and a strange GPS that looks a bit like HAL from 2001: A Space Odyssey. David gets to the wedding, where he meets Sarah, and the two quickly seem to get along well, to the point that Sarah jokingly asks David if he'd marry her. Sarah asks him to dance, David says he doesn't, and he spends the rest of the night sullen, wishing he had been brave as she leaves with another man. Bummed by his missed opportunity, he heads home the next day, but his GPS asks him if he'd like to go on a big, bold, beautiful journey. He agrees, and soon after, he coincidentally meets back up with Sarah at a Burger King. Sarah, who also rented a car from the car rental agency, has decided to go on a journey as well, and the two get in David's car to experience this journey together. What they find is that the GPS will take them on a road trip through their pasts, bringing them to doors that take them into their memories as they relive, revisit, and sometimes get to experience moments from their past in entirely new ways. As they learn more about each other, David and Sarah begin to question if the goal of this journey is to get them together.
Kogonada's latest movie has the heart of a musical.
Kogonada almost presents A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey like a musical, but without the musical numbers. The constant use of umbrellas throughout the film evokes Jacques Demy's The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, and there's an overwhelming, earnest, heart-on-your-sleeve type of emotion that oozes out of the film. Kogonada plays with the fictional nature of this story, whether it's through the absurd GPS or moments where David and Sarah find themselves almost rehearsing as if they know they're in a movie or play. A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey throws out a lot of platitudes, but one of the major ones is that sometimes we have to perform to get to the truth. And for David and Sarah, Kogonada attempts to make the entire world a stage they can explore. At times, it almost seems as though Kogonada is making his own version of a 2000s-era rom-com where quirkiness became a staple of those films. There are moments that remind of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind or Days of Summer, but without the same level of charm as those films could find. The initial discussion between David and Sarah sounds ridiculous, as if they both know they're the leads of this rom-com and have decided to embrace their roles, without building to this moment. When Sarah asks David to marry him, it isn't cute or playful, it's jarring and unexpected. It's like Rice's script wants the meet cute, but doesn't understand what makes one work. That quirkiness can get overwhelming, and A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey doesn't quite know how to rein it in or that it's not endearing. Especially when David and Sarah aren't in their memories, some moments seem more worthy of an eye roll than a smile. Waller-Bridge speaks with a German accent for no discernible reason. The use of the phrase fast food cheeseburger is said so often it's seemingly supposed to be adorable, and it just doesn't work. Robbie's Sarah feels feels right about ready to fall over the line into manic pixie dream girl, but only occasionally dips her toe over the edge. And the icing on top. Of course, any take on 2000s-era romance films has to have an indie pop soundtrack with Wilco and Bright Eyes on it. A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey is going for twee long after those types of films were welcome, and it doesn't help the heart at the center of the story.
A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey is messy, but has some wonderful moments.
It's a shame because the core of A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey does have some truly beautiful moments, and that's where the Kogonada style starts to come through. In one sequence, the pair visits David's high school, where he's the lead in How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, which is also the night he told his co-star that he loves her. Even though it's been decades since this moment first happened, he still feels the pain of sharing his feelings and having them shot down. In this sequence, Kogonada heartbreakingly presents how there are some moments that never lose their feeling, no matter how far removed we are from them, and how those experiences can be formative in both positive and negative ways. Sarah takes David to a museum that she used to go to with her mom before she died. The cinematography by Benjamin Loeb, who Kogonada worked with on After Yang, makes this feel like a true Kogonada film. And just having two people discussing art and their lives is all the moment needs. In another Sarah memory, she's able to go to the hospital on the day her mom died, a moment she didn't get to have, while David goes back a bit further and meets his father on the day David was born. The way A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey has these characters delving into their history, seeing the reality of their past, and getting into the truth of these moments leads to some of the most powerful scenes of the movie. A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey truly thrives when it reckons with the quieter, small moments. Despite the film's shortcomings, Farrell and Robbie are both doing wonderful work here. Like with his performance in After Yang, Farrell is sublime when playing big-hearted characters full of melancholy, regret, and love. Especially when he goes into his past, Farrell is superb at showing David coming to terms with his past and how these important moments led to his present. Robbie has a bit of a harder time as Sarah, considering how this character is written to be more unpredictable and offbeat, but she's still turning in a decent performance. Sarah works best in the sequences where she reckons with the loss of her mother, and when the film allows her to work through these emotions for the first time. While David mostly has to work out his feelings about not being where he wants in his life, despite decades of praise and hopes, Sarah has to deal with losing the most important person in her life, and Robbie handles this deftly.
The strange finale ends the movie on a damning note. For the most part, A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey is a valiant effort to make a different type of romance story, one that often falls into awkwardness and clunky moments that don't work. Yet the emotion underneath it all and the heart of the story is clearly coming from a place of good intention, with an idea that through Rice's occasionally clunky screenplay doesn't quite get the justice it deserves. However, this all leads to an extremely questionable ending that undercuts the loving, open-hearted nature this story has had up until then. Without spoiling where this story goes, A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey, quite late in the film, brings up the idea that contentment is more important than true happiness, which flies in the face of everything we've seen up until this moment. It's an extremely odd choice that comes out of nowhere and sullies where this story was headed. This statement comes off like yet another platitude that is supposed to appear deeper than it is, but in this instance, it only hurts where the story goes from there. Up until this moment, it's easy to appreciate what A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey does right and shrug off what doesn't quite work, but this heel turn makes it hard to continue to do so. It's incredibly likely that A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey would have been a more successful, pointed commentary on love and memories had it been written by Kogonada himself. The screenplay by Rice is too eccentric and full of empty statements about life that result in the movie not working like it should. But every once in a while, A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey does feel like a Kogonada film, when it simply relies on Farrell and Robbie in a dimly lit room discussing their lives, and if you squint, you can almost see how great this film could have been. A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey tries to be too big and too bold when it's the smaller moments in which this film becomes a beautiful journey. A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey comes to theaters on September 19.